Hey, today I'm going to show you how to make a simple 3-oscillator synth. To start, you're going to go into Channels and pull up Synthmaker. It'll come up with this preset here. To start, you're going to bring out this preset manager, pull out the audio out and the volume, just to space it out a little bit more, so you have more room while you're working. What I like to start off doing is taking a stereo amp. You'll just need to search it in the search bar up here. Then I'll drag the stereo amp right underneath in between the audio out and the volume, and I've detached the left and right input of the audio out, and I'm reattaching the volume to the left and right of the stereo amp and the outputs from the stereo amp to the audio out. So now I have a volume control that will control the overall volume of the synth. Next, I will add 2 more oscillators because right now we only have 1. So I'll go back into our search bar and look up multi-oscillator. It'll come up after a few of the letters. Then I'll bring them over here. I'll need 2 because we're going to need a total of 3. And I'll bring the frequency and attach it to the frequency of the multi-oscillator and the pitch to the phase of the multi-oscillator. And I'll do that for both of them. And then I will take the output and put it into the input of the VCA. And I'll do that to both as well. And now we have a basic 3-oscillator synth. To add a little bit more, we're going to search back into our search bar and we're going to look up detuner. And now we're going to need 3 of these. And this will give us the ability to change the octaves and semitones and the fine tuning of each and every oscillator. I'm going to drag my mouse across all of these to move them and give us a little bit more space to work with. I'm going to bring the first detuner up here and detach the frequency and phase or pitch from each oscillator and pull the frequency and pitch to the input of both the detuner. And now I'm going to take the output of the detuner and drag it to the frequency and phase of the first oscillator. Then I'm going to do that same procedure to both of the next 2 detuners and multi-oscillators. The detuners will give us the ability to individually change the tune of each of these oscillators, so it'll give us a little bit more freedom in what we're going to do with our sounds. So now we can control each of these individually. To give us a little bit more unique control to each oscillator, we're going to pull up an amp, which is going to be a volume knob. We're going to need 3 of these because we're going to control the separate volume of each of these oscillators. Now we're going to move these multi-oscillators over to the left a little bit, out of the way, because we will now pull the amp up here, and we'll detach the output of the multi-oscillators from the input of the VCA. And now we'll take the output of the multi-oscillators and put it into the amp, and out of the amp into the VCA. And we'll repeat this for each of these next 2 ones. And we now have individual volume control for each of our multi-oscillators. Next, we can add a simple reverb to give a little bit more of an effect to our synth. Now, I'm going to move this stereo amp down here and detach the input from the audio and attach them into the reverb, and then pull the output of the reverb and put them into the audio output. So now we have a reverb device inside of our synth. We can also put a stereo chorus, and the stereo chorus will give our synth another effect, give it the ability to change the rate of the wavelengths, and we're going to attach it as well by taking the outputs of the stereo amp and attaching them to the input of the stereo chorus, and putting the outputs of the stereo chorus into the audio output. And now we have a basic synth. Now we'll go into our main synth screen where we will now assemble our synth. We're going to open it bigger so that we have room to work, and we're going to click this padlock to unlock it so we are able to edit it. And now we're going to spread out all of the pieces so we can begin to assemble. I like to start by moving my main volume. So that's not the main volume, this black knob is. I like to move the volume to the right and the preset manager to the left. You can do however you want. This part is completely up to you. I'm just going to show you a basic way of doing it. And I'm going to take each individual oscillator and align them like this. Again, you don't need to do it like this at all. This is just how I'm setting it up, just as a basic example. And then once you've finished setting it up how you'd like it to be set up, I will then show you how to make sure you have everything in the right place, which is actually very important. Alright, this is just basic. I know it doesn't look very good. It's not meant to. It's just meant to be an example. In order to make sure this synth works properly, you're going to have to change them by first locking. Now you can toggle with the knobs. I'm going to change the fine tune of our triangle all the way down, and I'm going to move back into here and look for the triangle and see if the knob is all the way down. So it looks like I have the wrong detuner in the wrong spot, so now I'm going to switch this one up and this one in the middle so I can find which one it is. Okay, so I have it right here. I'm going to unlock it. Now I'm going to swap these two. And now my sine should be all the way to the right. One sine should. And one sine should be all the way to the left. So this is actually supposed to be the sine down here. This is the triangle. This is very important that you get these in the right spots, otherwise you may be controlling your triangle, or not necessarily triangle wave, but you could be controlling this wave right here. You may be controlling it with this, and this isn't actually hooked up. This detuner is actually hooked up to this one down here, and you'd never know, and you'd be confused why your sound is sounding differently, even though you're not controlling it to do that way, even though you technically are. So that is a very important part in making your synth. And then once you've figured out and made sure that all of the detuners are in the right place, you'll go ahead and change the volumes, lock it up again. I'm going to change my triangles all the way down and one sine all the way to the right. I'm going to change this to a sawtooth just so I can tell which is which. So the sawtooth should be in the middle, and it is not. It is all the way to the right, so the sawtooth needs to be the one that's all the way to the right. And now I have my sine all the way to the top, and that is also wrong. My triangle should be all the way to the top. So I need to swap these two out. And now I've properly positioned each of my volumes so that they are controlled by the right knobs. And now I have a basic synth. Now if you want to play around with your synth, you can hit the toggle edit panel to lock it back up, and you can mess around with it inside of here, or you can press this button right here, show this panel, and it'll bring it up as a synth. And now you can play some notes and mess around with the synth. And I know none of those sounds sound particularly good, but I don't really know. I haven't messed around with this long enough to know exactly what sounds good and what doesn't. But as you can see, you can make plenty of different noises, and it's not that hard. You just switch around a few buttons. And obviously there aren't just this chorus and this reverb. You can do plenty of different things. There are things like cutoffs, and there's flangers and all sorts of stuff. You just search them up in that little search bar I showed you, and that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. In the next tutorial, I will show you how to make a basic design and a better layout for it. So I'll show you how to make a background and label all these and make your synth look nice. Thank you for watching. If I helped, please don't forget to like it and subscribe. If you have any more questions, I will always answer your comments. And yep, the next tutorial I will show you how to better design this and to give it some color and make it look a lot nicer. Thank you for watching.